Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating crossover between modern blockbuster entertainment and ancient Indian educational philosophy. We're going to look at the staggering numbers behind a massive upcoming cinematic epic and then uncover the historical truth of the ancient schooling system it actually portrays. By the end of this explainer, you'll see exactly how the teaching methods of ancient India are being analyzed today to solve some of the biggest crises in our modern classrooms, specifically, the absolute epidemic of student stress and this heavy reliance on rote memorization. Okay, let's dive into this massive number right here. 4,000 crore rupees. That's roughly $500 million. To put that into perspective, that is the kind of budget you'd usually only see for massive Hollywood tentpoles like The Avengers or Avatar. But no, this is the reported combined budget for the upcoming 2026 Ramayana film series, directed by Nitish Tiwari. It features a totally star-studded cast, including Ranbir Kapoor, Yash, and Sai Pallavi. This monumental investment makes it literally one of the most expensive pan-Indian film productions in history. They're aiming to set global benchmarks, even bringing in visual effects from the Academy Award-winning studio D&E. That's the exact same studio behind the visuals in films like Dune and Inception.
So, with a cinematic world this expansive and a budget so astronomically huge, where exactly did the filmmakers decide to start? Well, principal photography actually kicked off in April 2024 by shooting what are called the Gurukula sequences. These scenes feature child actors portraying the young princes of Ayodhya alongside their revered teacher Vashishta. And it's a fascinating creative choice, right? They chose to begin the actors' physical production journey right where the historical and mythological figures began their own intellectual and moral journeys. They started in the ancient, deeply traditional school system known as the Gurukula.
Section 1. Inside the traditional Gurukul. Let's move to and see how this builds, exploring what this ancient schooling really looked like back in the Vedic period. The entire system was built upon something called the Guru-Shishya Parampara. Essentially, this was the foundational bond between the teacher, or guru, and the student, the Shishya. But to really grasp this, we kind of have to unlearn our current definition of school. This wasn't just a classroom with rows of desks facing a whiteboard. In our modern context, a teacher delivers a syllabus, the bell rings at 3 p.m., and everybody goes home. But in the Gurukul, the guru was an all-encompassing 24/7 mentor. They provided highly personalized attention, guiding their students not just in academic subjects, but deeply in their personal, moral, and even physical development. Let's walk through the actual life cycle of a student in this system. So a student would typically leave their family to join the Gurukul at the young age of 8. Think about that level of commitment for a second. From that age onward, they lived in the ashram, deeply secluded in nature and completely isolated from worldly distractions. And they didn't just sit around and read. Actually, scratch that. It's more like they actively managed the ashram. They chopped wood, they tended to the cattle, they fetched water. These daily chores inherently promoted discipline, humility, and profound self-reliance way before they even touched an academic text. This immersive study continued for 12 to 14 intense years until the student was deemed truly ready to take on the heavy responsibilities of society. And this brilliantly illustrates just how holistic their curriculum was. Yes, they deeply studied the Vedas and Upanishads, but the education went way beyond religious texts. They studied complex mathematics and astronomy. They learned medicine and the highly disciplined arts of warfare. They even engaged in music and the arts. And there's a brilliant underlying logic to teaching warfare and music side by side. It was really about balancing the left brain and the right brain, merging the intense physical discipline and strategy of combat with the emotional intelligence and creative expression of the arts. It was this rich, multidimensional blend designed to create a fully capable human being. But how was all of this vast, complex information taught? Well, primarily through an oral tradition, combined with intense experiential learning. There were no mass-printed textbooks to flip through. Knowledge was memorized through rhythmic recitation, sure, but it was heavily reinforced through active discussion, passionate debate, and direct hands-on observation. For instance, a student learned medicine by actually foraging for herbs and treating ailments in the ashram. They learned discipline by waking up before dawn to keep the fires lit. The guru constantly encouraged questions, allowing students to learn at their own pace rather than forcing them into, passive, silent compliance. Section 2. The decline of tradition. So what happened? Why don't we see Gurukuls today? It ultimately came down to massive external pressures. It was kind of like a perfect storm of forces. First, repeated foreign invasions deeply disrupted the secluded, peaceful nature of the ashram system.
Following that, British colonization introduced a Western, centralized education model. You see, the British Empire didn't need enlightened philosophers. They needed thousands of clerks and administrators to run their colonial machinery. So they completely sidelined indigenous, individualized methods in favor of standardized classrooms. Finally, as society rapidly urbanized, learning completely shifted away from the forests and into centralized brick-and-mortar schools. Mass education replaced personalized mentorship, and formal degrees suddenly took precedence over holistic character building.
Section 3. Modern Crises, Stress, and Rote Learning. We've inherited that centralized mass education system, but it is currently facing a massive breaking point crisis. Modern educators and researchers are ringing alarm bells right now. So the crucial point becomes incredibly clear when we contrast these two methods side by side. Modern mass education, largely driven by standardized testing, forces students into rote memorization. It's all about that teach-to-the-test mentality, cramming isolated facts into your short-term memory just long enough to pass an exam, and honestly, often completely forgetting them the very next week. The ancient system, however, prioritized experiential learning and continuous lifelong assessment. Knowledge was gained through interactive debates and direct application. Simply put, one system is designed to produce test takers, while the other is designed to produce critical thinkers.
And the emotional toll of our current system is absolutely staggering. Today's students are facing an absolute epidemic of burnout. We're seeing unprecedented levels of clinical anxiety and extreme academic pressure, where a single test score can seemingly dictate a kid's entire future. The system demands constant, quantifiable performance. Now, contrast that with the Gurukul's built-in focus on spiritual and mental well-being. Because the ancient curriculum intentionally integrated meditation, yoga, and emotional regulation long before they taught advanced mathematics, students developed incredible mental resilience. They were literally taught how to manage their minds before they were taught how to fill them. Section 4. Reviving Ancient Wisdom Today. Recognizing these modern shortcomings, policymakers today are actively looking backward to find solutions for the future.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the fascinating validation we're seeing from the academic community. A recent comprehensive study published in the International Journal of Humanities and Social Science Research dug deeply into the ancient Gurukul system. Their abstract explicitly notes that, despite its historical decline centuries ago, the Gurukul philosophy remains incredibly relevant right now. Elements like experiential learning, deeply instilled moral values, and personalized one-on-one guidance are increasingly recognized by today's leading scholars as the exact essential missing pieces required to fix modern education. And the crazy part is, this isn't just a theoretical exercise for researchers. It is actively becoming national policy. Just look at India's National Education Policy, or NEP, of 2020. It explicitly echoes the ethics of the Gurukul. The NEP actually mandates a systemic shift toward experiential learning, the integration of practical vocational training from a young age, and a renewed emphasis on moral education. The ultimate stated goal? Holistic development, creating well-rounded, emotionally intelligent individuals. It's a stunning, direct mirror of the exact objectives of the ancient Guru-Shishya Parampara. So as we anticipate watching the magnificent Gurukul sequences in the 4,000 crore Ramayana epic, it serves as a pretty powerful reminder. Our history holds way more than just great, entertaining stories. It holds brilliant, time-tested frameworks for human development. So I leave you with this question to ponder. As we face rising student burnout and the clear limitations of standardized rote memorization, can blending this ancient wisdom with modern technology and scale finally cure the crisis of the modern classroom? Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning how we learn.